I know there's some way to do it, but I don't know what that way is. You know, we've had this tripod for years.
And
neither of us know how to work it still. Hey, it's Sue.
And Megan, the Spine Breakers. And today we are resurrecting our Monster Mash book tag.
Yes, we created this tag around Halloween, the first year we were on BookTube.
It's been many moons, yeah.
Which was 2016.
Yeah, like 3 fucking years ago.
We've been on BookTube a while. It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
It really doesn't.
Yeah,
it does not.
Weird. But as you can see, if any former or present emo kids, can you tell what I emulated my look off of? Anybody? A little mindless self-indulgence?
And I'm just a zombie.
Yeah.
You know, it's just your standard bloody zombie.
Standard zombie.
Yeah.
So this tag is based on the lyrics from the classic Halloween hit, The Monster Mash.
Joyful romp.
Yes.
The Monster Mash.
So we've got a bit of a spooky beer here. It is Don't Fear the Blender, number 2. And this is from Clown Shoes Brewery, which is somewhere. I got this in Texas, but I don't think... Oh, it's from Boston.
Boston.
Brewed and canned by Clown Shoes Beer. So, you know, you've got a Grim Reaper, and also lots of people are scared of clowns. But it's a fruit smoothie IPA with strawberry and raspberry puree.
So we're going to give it a go and see what we think.
Yeah. We've got our fancy Halloween goblets.
We're feeling the spooky.
Oh, it's not. I was hoping it'd be pretty, but it just looks like beer.
It just looks like beer.
Let's try it. I can smell it already.
Me too.
It's my first taste of beer today. So I don't know if that's I don't know if that's why it tastes so bitter to me or if it actually is bitter. I mean, it's an IPA, so it's at least a little bitter.
I was having
I don't mind it, though.
an Oktoberfest beer prior, so.
I don't think it's bad.
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I'd drink it again.
It's pretty decent. Carbonated and floaty.
Probably, I think you're like not supposed to pour the last bit with the floaties in, but I always do.
You paid for those floaties. I say drink them, all right?
I paid for that whole beer.
I paid for them floaties.
All right, so we tried not to use the same answers we used the first time we did this tag, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens. So the first question is, I was working in the lab late one night. What is a book that kept you up all night?
So I feel kind of stupid for this one. And I wouldn't say it kept me up all night, but this book actually freaked me out a little bit when I was reading it. And it's 666 by Jay Anson. And it's about like a house that's possessed, kind of. And I was reading it like alone at home by myself. And I remember like hearing some noises and being like, huh. And the book itself is like, it's okay. It wasn't a great book. It was kind of, because, you know, Jay Anson wrote the Amityville Horror, and it was like pretty similar to the, well, I haven't read the Amityville Horror, but I've seen the movie, and like the premise of this was like kind of similar to that, I would say. It wasn't that, it was okay. It wasn't bad. It was okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't like,
but it wasn't great.
Like,
but it did like give me the heebie-jeebies a little. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I went like kind of a different interpretation of that question, and I went with a book I couldn't put down. Also one that gave me like a book hangover. So I said Parable of Talents by Octavia Butler. This one did keep me up all night in that it really made me think. Also, like, I stayed up reading it. I really enjoyed it. This book is about a dystopian future, and it's about this woman who creates her own religion in this like dystopian, very impoverished, you know, the United States is a third world country kind of a world. And so this is about what happens with her religion and with her. And fuck, man, Octavia Butler's a goddamn prophet.
Second question. My eyes beheld an eerie sight. What is the weirdest or creepiest shit you've ever read in a book? I guess I should have said the same.
Oh my god. There's a story in this collection of short stories, which y'all should know about if you watched our channel. If you are new to our channel, this is short horror erotica stories, and it is fucking terrible and delightful all at once. And there's a book in here, or there's a story in here called The Tub, and it is by Richard Lehman. And in that story, a woman ends up in a bathtub underneath a man who has died. He's a large man, and she's trapped beneath him and cannot get out of the tub. So she eats her way through him to escape from the tub. And I do believe it describes some crunching. And it was some disturbing and disgusting ass shit. Also, like, they were totally fucking in the tub, and I think it described, like, his business, like, as he died and started to do his dead thing.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna read an excerpt because I have to. So, okay, she kept hammering her fists down against his back. They made meaty thuds. She had no idea whether pounding on him would do any good, but she'd seen it done on doctor shows. Also, in a way, it felt good. Each blow sent quick little tremors through his body, like wrapping a watermelon at the grocery store. The tremors made him vibrate on top of her. That gave Joyce a tingle. The blows even jostled his penis a little. It was still buried in her, still erect. I know you're faking, she said. No, come on. Dead guys don't have boners. It just gets grosser from there, y'all. Like, it's some disturbing ass shit.
So I chose what's probably the weirdest book I've ever read. It's not really creepy. I mean, depends on who you are, but it doesn't go into detail on a lot of things. But Dolly City by Orly Castell Bloom, translated by Dahlia Bilu. It's just such a weird fucking book. It's about this woman who's a doctor, or at least she claims to be a doctor. Unclear whether she actually is or not. She, like, does all these experiments on animals and stuff, but then she finds a baby in a dumpster, and so she decides to keep it, and she does all these, like, unnecessary surgeries on this baby because she's worried that it has something wrong inside it. And then, like, it's just weird. At one point, the bizarre child, like, it's a very short book, so it just kind of flies through everything, but at one point when the child's older, she literally sews it to her back and carries the kid around on her back. And it says that it is a kind of a satire of, like, the Jewish mother archetype. So I think it's supposed to be, like, she's very
helicopter parent.
Yeah, she's an overbearing parent. But it's just weird as fuck. But I enjoyed it. It was a fun ride, but it was just strange.
It was a bizarre ride.
But I want to give honorable mention to another book, though, because when you were talking about that book, it reminded me of when many years ago, I listened to the audiobook of Infected by Scott Sigler.
Yeah,
I think
I've read those, yeah.
I only ever listened to the first one. I need to probably, like, go back and re-listen to it or read it physically. But the audiobook version was actually really good, and it was free because he originally read it on his podcast.
Oh, nice.
And so it's probably out there free still. I'm not sure. But there was a section in that book. It's about, like, an alien invasion. And there's a section in that book where he's describing something that was so, like, well done and vivid that it actually kind of made me feel ill. Yeah. And I don't have a weak stomach for stuff like that, but I was kind of like, oh. So I'll give that book an honorable mention.
That's solid. So, get a jolt from my electrodes. Name a book that completely shocked or surprised you.
So I went with The Chalk Man by C.J. Tudor, which I just read recently, which is a thriller about this man who's, like, looking back. It flashes back to the 80s from the present, whatever. I don't know, words.
Words are hard.
But so he's, like, remembering his childhood when he and his friends found this body of a dismembered teen in the woods. I wasn't expecting much going into it because I don't know, thrillers are like very hit or miss for me. And I'd heard mixed things about this one, mostly kind of mediocre things, but I actually ended up really liking it, and the end did surprise me.
Nice.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of those things where it's like when you think back, you're like,
that makes sense.
Kind of can see where that was going, but I didn't pick up on it until the end, and I was like, wait, what?
Hold up. Hold up. I went with, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This one surprised me both by how much I liked it, because it was super hyped, and so I was afraid that it would have been like way overhyped and then not live up to it. But I fucking loved it. Like, I gave it 5 stars. It was boss. And then also I was a little surprised by the ending.
Next is, the guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. Name your favorite monster or villain from a book.
I went with Melanie from The Girl with All the Gifts, because she's kind of an interesting villain, not villain kind of villain. You know, like, she both is and isn't a villain, and she's very, like, textured and complex, and you end up, like, kind of sympathizing with her, but then, like, she takes things a skosh too far, but, like, you can still understand why and, like, where she's coming from. So I think she's a very, like, interesting and complex villain. And this book is just really good. So, you need to settle. You cannot come up here unless you wear your lumberjack costume. Oh, nope, okay.
He's like, I'm coming.
He's like, bitch, you don't get to tell me shit.
Don't take the makeup off my face, please. It's probably not good for you either. And I went with the Monsters from Bird Box by Josh Malerman. The way it was done in the book is so interesting, and they're just kept, I don't know, is this a spoiler? Maybe. They're kept very mysterious. You don't really know what their motive is, if they have one at all, even what they are. And it kind of turns the people into villains as well.
Yeah.
You know? But I just thought that was such an interesting concept, and the movie did not do it well. So if you haven't read the book, you should.
I haven't watched the movie, but I want to. So whatever happened to my Transylvania Twist? Name a book that was super hyped when it came out, but nobody talks about it anymore.
I said Homegoing by Ya Jesse. This was very hyped when it came out. Everybody was reading it. Everybody was talking about it. And I thought it was really good. It's about 2 women in Africa. One is, and it starts out in, like, I think the 1800s. One is sold into the slave trade and is taken to the United States or somewhere in America. And the other one is, I think if I'm recalling correctly, she, like, marries kind of a high-standing person among her people, and is, you know, a high-status person, remains in Africa, and then it kind of follows both of their lineages. And I really liked it. I thought it was great. I heard, you know, everybody said really good things about it for the most part. But I don't really hear much about it these days. So, I don't know. If you haven't read it, I would recommend it.
I really honestly didn't have an answer for this. I'm so out of the loop on, like, what gets hyped and, like, what doesn't get talked about. Like, I honestly am very disconnected from shit right now, so ain't in it. I don't know. Yeah.
Next is They Did the Mash. Name your favorite book that is a mashup of 2 or more genres.
I kind of took a roundabout answer to that. I was like, I have so many things. I love horror mashed up with other genres. Like, I like pure horror, but I also like horror comedy and sci-fi horror. And so some books, I have multiple answers for this, kind of to make up for the fact that I did not have an answer for number 5. So a couple of horror comedy novels that I really enjoyed. Really anything by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is super popular right now. And his books are very, like, they're fun. They're kind of kitschy. They're like for example, I have a copy of Horror Store. So this takes place in, like, the American knockoff version of IKEA. And so the book looks like an IKEA catalog. And it's set in that store. So it's very, like, it's just really cool. Like, the pages have, you know, they kind of look like a catalog. But this is horror comedy, and it's just really fun. A fun take on horror. Another horror comedy novel that I enjoyed was Breathers by S.G. Brown. This is called Breathers, A Zombie's Lament. So this is about a man who is recently deceased. He's a new zombie. And in this book's universe, most zombies can cohabitate with humans, but they're kind of seen as second-class citizens. So this is about his life, kind of where he meets up with kind of the wrong crowd, and they start to discover that humans taste pretty good. So... but yeah, and then like horror sci-fi kind of. I would say like the Feed novels, so like the Newsflesh novels by Mira Grant's kind of a good example of that. Really any zombie novel is, but those books are also kind of like espionage, conspiracy plot mixed with horror. So yeah, I just like horror mixed with things.
I picked a book that I didn't like. Maybe I should have picked something else.
That's funny.
But the first thing I thought of was The Brief History of the Dead by Kevin Brockmeyer, which I just listened to on audio last month. It's sci-fi mixed with fantasy, maybe kind of mixed with like a survival novel, that kind of stuff, mixed with like kind of like spiritual, I guess.
Interesting.
It's about this woman she works for Coca-Cola, and she goes on this expedition for them in Antarctica. And I think it's set in the future, kind of, because it seems like corporations have more power and kind of run everything. But while she's there, this like disease, plague of some sort sweeps the world. And then it's also partially set in the afterlife in a place they just call the city, which is where you go if there's still someone on Earth who remembers you. Then you just live basically as though you were still on Earth in the city. And it was one of those that like I liked it most of the way through it, and then the end I was like, it just like...
That book straight up sounds like Coco. Like straight up sounds like the movie Coco.
Yeah. I mean, the book was published before that movie came out, I think.
Yeah. But
if Coco's based on, Mexican culture, then that already existed.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if it is or isn't, but it sounds straight up like Coco.
Yeah.
It was a graveyard smash. What's your favorite horror novel?
So, this isn't a novel, it's just a book. So, maybe we'll change it to favorite horror book.
Yeah, favorite horror book of any type.
I went with, this is one of my favorites. I have many favorites of everything.
Get down, bud.
Yeah, this scares me when he just
launches
himself. Leaps off things, because he's so short.
Tim's got tiny legs, but boy has jumps.
So I went with one of my favorites, which is Fortune Box by Madeline Swan. This is a collection of little short stories about people who all receive a package, and whatever's in that package changes their life in some way, and it's usually very strange, and there's definitely some horror elements in here. And I just really, really enjoyed it. It was really interesting, and even though I think there's like 9 little stories in this tiny book, but they all seemed, like none of them seemed too short, you know what I mean? Like they all seemed complete, so.
That's awesome.
I really, really enjoyed it.
And Madeline Swan is really cool.
Yeah, she's a booktuber, if you don't know. I think she has like a couple of channels where she does like bizarro fiction stuff.
Yeah, she's a very, very cool human. So I again have 2 picks for this because I got excited. I'm like really feeling the Halloweens. So I got
really.
Yeah,
I'm
really
totally
excited.
not this year for some reason.
I wanna do all
like I'm having to like force myself to do my costume.
Well, we don't have to do costumes. We can just do this.
We could.
Easy. Okay, so I said, and this is what I said the last time we did this, but at least I'm consistent, I guess. World War Z by Max Brooks. I love this book. I love this take on a zombie novel. The writing is really good. There are some kind of unique ideas in here, I thought. And I just fucking loved this. So this is like a journalist who's doing like interviews after, like post-zombie apocalypse. So you get a lot of different perspectives. Yeah, I fucking love this book. And then kind of sarcastically, but not really, because this is pretty fucking scary. It's not technically a horror novel, but it's terrifying. The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So, and I'm reading The Testaments right now, which is the follow-up novel to this book. And that's very interesting so far, because you get like Aunt Lydia's perspective.
Oh.
Yeah.
Number 8, we're modifying this question a bit from the original. So it's the scene was rockin', all we're digging the sounds. What's your favorite song based on a book or book that features music in some way?
Whichever route
whichever
you want
one.
to take.
Before we just had it as the song one, but a lot of people when we did it originally were like, I don't know any songs based on books. I don't pay attention. So we added the second part in case you wanted to do that instead of a song.
So because we added that second part in, I leaned into that. And I went with We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. I had my first positive audiobook experience, y'all, and it was cool. I've been doing a lot of woodbirding lately, so I haven't been reading as much. So I've been trying to like figure out how to balance some shit. So I was like, fuck it, I'll try an audiobook. And so I found We Sold Our Souls on audiobook, and I've been wanting to read it, and I figured it would be a good one to listen to because it's kind of light and it's not anything you have to be like real, because I have a hard time with listening.
Same.
So for prolonged periods. So yeah, it was really fun. It was a fun book, and it features a lot of like metal. It's about this like aging members of this metal band, and I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what happened. I mean, it's kind of, you can kind of guess, but yeah, it was super fun. They mentioned a lot of like actual metal bands that I actually knew, because I don't know a shit ton about metal, but like the ones they mentioned I knew about. But yeah, so it was super fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
And I picked a song. I went with For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica, which I think is a really great Metallica song. And of course it's based on the book For Whom the Bell Tolls by oh my god, Ernest Hemingway. I almost said Herman Munster.
By Herman Munster.
Seriously, the name I thought of was Herman Munster. I have not read the book, so I don't know anything about that. But the song's really good. My boyfriend hates the book. Like, if you want to hear him go off, mention the book For Whom the Bell Tolls or The Scarlet Letter.
Oh, we did not like The Scarlet Letter.
Fucking hates.
Does he not like Hawthorne or just The Scarlet Letter?
I think he's only read that one.
The Minister's Black Veil is a much better Hawthorne book.
And I think Hemingway, well, he goes on about how much he fucking hates Hemingway, but then he was like, Old Man the Sea is actually pretty good.
Tell him Boris sent you. What is your go-to book recommendation?
So, as always, it would depend on who was asking. Mm-hmm. But if it was like someone I didn't know and I knew nothing about them,
right,
and they wanted me to just recommend any book,
just blindly recommend something,
I would maybe go with The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, because there's, mystery, there's intrigue, there's romance. Mm-hmm.
It's funny at some points.
Yeah.
There's some points that are very amusing.
So I think that a lot of people would enjoy this. In fact, I know a lot of people would enjoy this because everyone went, just batty over
Bananas over it. Yeah.
On BookTube.
A lot of people who know me kind of know the types of books I read, so it really depends on who asks me. Sometimes I'll tailor it to who's asking me, and sometimes I'm like, look, you know what you came here for. You know the types of shit I read. So I have Kindred by Octavia Butler, because everyone should read Octavia Butler, and if you've watched our channel for any length of time and you haven't read her, what are you doing? And then also The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers, which again, if you've been here for any time period at all and you haven't read this, what are you doing? Yeah, so I would say those are my two go-to recommendations, especially if people kind of want to flirt with sci-fi a little bit.
Question 10 is For You, the Living, This Mash Was Meant To.
Who do you tell?
So, we're gonna gonna tag everyone.
Everyone who's watching this, do it.
We want you guys. We'd love for this tag to be resurrected. We think it's fun. But let's tag a few specific people too.
Let's do. So who specifically would we like to tag? Who likes horror?
Hey Little Thrifter.
Mm-hmm. That was my first. Herman Munster. Herman Munster.
Carol Marie Reeds.
Yeah.
Although she just had a baby, so I don't know if she's gonna be making no pressure.
Dude, dress your baby up in a costume.
Dun dun dun. How about the Shades of Orange?
Yeah.
I feel like we probably tagged That's What She Read the first time we did it.
But we're gonna do it again.
But if you want to do it again, that'd be great.
It's a new year. You've read some stuff.
Yeah. Let's tag Tome Infinity.
Let's do it, Megan.
Let's tag Dark and Twisty Books.
Yes, let's do that.
Let's tag Chapter Stacks.
Yeah.
So we're gonna tag those people specifically, but you know, of course, anyone is more than welcome.
You are all welcome to do this tag.
And then the last question is a bonus question. What's your favorite thing about Halloween?
Motherfucking costumes!
Yeah, normally I'd say the same, but for some reason this year I'm just like really struggling. I don't know why. I think
so
partly because I'm broke, so I don't have the money
to
make my costume.
So what is your favorite thing this year about Halloween?
Probably just spooky stuff in general. I just finally put some Halloween stuff up around my house.
Ooh.
I mean, my house always kind of has Halloween stuff up.
You cracked me up. I Snapchatted Sue, and she said she was sweaty, and I was like, why are you sweaty? She was like, I've been cleaning and Halloweening. And it tickled me.
Yeah, and then as I was laying in bed, I could hear my cat destroying everything that I had done while I was trying to go to sleep.
Because she's a horror show.
Lily! Lily! I mean, I liked this beer, but it wasn't like anything that special, I didn't think.
No, I don't think
it was good.
It was decent. Yeah, it was decent.
Yeah, so that was our Monster Mash book tag.
Yeah, so we'd love to hear what spooky books you like, or even, you know, we'd like to see you guys do this tag, even if you don't do it with horror books. So
yeah.
Do it. And if you have any recommendations for ridiculous horror or comedy horror, let a bitch know.
Alright, so thanks for watching.
And we'll see you next time.
Stay spooky.
Ooh.
I don't know, I'm acting like a ghost, but I'm clearly
Frankenstein.
a Frankenstein monster.
Frankenstein's monster.